Hello and welcome to the Premier Injuries channel. As you can see, we're in a festive mood. I've got my festive top on. Lynn has taken off her festive lights that we had in the previous show. And Ben has got, well, I think they're teddy bear versions of us. You've got Lynn, Mini Ben, and of course, Jason. I think you take that Jason teddy to bed with you, don't you?
J-Mac.
Yeah. So today we're talking about Chelsea, who are not having a good Christmas time. I mean, for a lot of people, this is the most wonderful time of the year. Not for Chelsea fans. They're certainly feeling blue at the moment because the team have really taken a turn in terms of form. But before we get into the kind of data and tactical analysis, Ben, we have to throw to you, could there be an injury reason why the team has taken a downturn?
Well, they've certainly got injuries to key personnel within the squad. It's easy. It's quite easy to hide behind that, though. I mean, but if we focus on those, and yes, in terms of defensively, you're losing cover when N'Golo Kante isn't part of that first team squad. He's not in the starting 11. You've lost that shield. One of the best players in the world at doing that job, at breaking up play, at making things easy for his centre-backs. Also, I think you can maybe count the loss of Romelu Lukaku as well, high ankle sprain, and then COVID, really. So he's yet to make a start in the Premier League. But what that does, when you've got somebody who can take that striking burden away, and look, I know people are going to throw the fact that he hasn't scored many, but look, he occupies players. He gives you an outlet. He gives other teams something to think about. And when you don't have players like him on the pitch, then, they change their styles, they adapt, they can maybe attack a little bit more. You look at that threat from Chelsea and you can maybe think, shall we take a few more risks? Players have just maybe, they were maybe overperforming. You can maybe look at Reece James, who was, an absolute fire and couldn't maybe continue delivering that level of performance that he was. And also, you can't maybe underestimate just how much of a loss Ben Chilwell was on the left-hand side. Marcus Alonso started the season really, really well, deserved to have his place in that starting 11 during those early game weeks. But once Ben Chilwell came into a little bit of form, found that fitness post-Euros, he really nailed it down, and he was thriving on the pressure and the competition with Alonso, and he was delivering some top high-class performances for Thomas Tuchel. So the loss of him, like I say, can't be understated, and that has a little bit of a domino effect throughout the team.
And so kind of from your observations then, Lynn, what do you feel has gone wrong with Chelsea?
I'm with Ben there. I think it's one of the main reasons, of course, Kante, and then Chilwell. I think he's been a very good leader as well as a good defender for Chelsea, and now they lost him, and you can tell. Alonso is a fantastic player, but he is definitely not as defensive as Chilwell, and he's definitely not the same kind of leader as he is. And I think that is what I see. And Mendy, I don't know what's happened to Mendy. He was a world-class keeper, just saving like amazing shots. And now he's, I don't know what he is, Champions League goalkeeper.
So kind of from my perspective, because I did some number crunching on this, and I wanted to look into if there's a massive reason why the team has kind of had such a downturn. And kind of looking over the last 6 games and then looking at their season-long averages, there's not been a massive downturn in their actual data. It's the downturn in output. So from 2.16 goals per 90 to 1.5 over the last few game weeks, last 6 games that they played. But their shots in the box, their XG created is actually about the same in terms of it. So they've gone from 1.82 XG per 90 to just 1.81 they're creating. So they're not putting the chances away. Again, that could be a personnel thing with the fact that Lukaku has not been in the side scoring them. But what I think might be the issue as well is it's just a period of XG over performance. At the start of the season, they were the third best team. When I talked to James York from StatsBomb, he reiterated this, that Liverpool and Man City is still leagues ahead of Chelsea in terms of quality, and that this purple patch period was basically just that they had a period where they went through extreme overperformance. Everything seemed to come together for them. But now they've kind of gone through a period, maybe due to fatigue or injuries or whatever, but they're now kind of matching their data rather than over exceeding it. And, you know, good teams go through this, good or bad periods, but the problem is I think that the team's not going to return to that amazing overperformance levels. So whatever happens kind of now towards the end of the season, even if they start matching their data, people will start comparing them to the start of the season and say they've got worse, what's happened. But they're still comfortably the third best team. They're still comfortably got the third best data. It's just, you know, they're not overperforming, and it's more down to luck than anything else. I think the problem is. So kind of looking at their stats, they're still a fine team. They're fine to own. They've got some difficult games on the horizon. I mean, kind of this downturn then, Lynn, has it made you reconsider owning their assets? So you're still going to keep with them?
Ooh. No, I'm going to get off that train. Maybe not this week, but probably next week, because they've got Liverpool, they've got Spurs and City, they've got 2 blanks. I don't see any magic happening there. So I think there are better options, especially at that price, because they're quite pricey.
And the thing is, as well as for people to kind of bear in mind, is the 2 blanks, because they're going to that World Cup situation. And also Mendy will be gone to AFCON. And, you know, you said there yourself, Lynn, he was a world-class keeper, maybe still Champions League level, but in terms of it, he's going to be a big loss. And so for however long he is gone to the AFCON for, they're going to have Kepa Arrizabalaga, who isn't a fantastic goalkeeper. He doesn't have the ability to overperform XG like others. I mean, Ben, are you off put by Chelsea? Are you going to stick with them? Because game week 19, Aston Villa, that seems a fine one. Game week 20, Brighton. Then there's Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham. And then there's the 2 blanks there. Maybe game week 26 is when we can consider them again.
I've never been too hot on Chelsea. I've been burnt too many times. I seem to jump on and jump off players at the wrong time. Romelu Lukaku was one that I maybe scored a little bit lucky with at the very beginning. He cooled massively. But in recent times, Mason Mount, I think I offloaded Mason Mount before he went on this little streak. You know, it's interesting because I was on a podcast with Rory Jennings, diehard Chelsea supporter, 25 plus years season ticket holder. And all season, he's spoken about how Chelsea just aren't that good. He says we're an average team. But you can't have the conversation with anybody when, at the time, Chelsea were top of the Premier League, Chelsea were top of their Champions League. And he said, because people would just throw that in your face. And now it's exactly what you said and exactly what James York was saying. It's that regression to the norm. We are back really where we should be. We need improvements. There are areas of that squad that certainly need strengthened. The back line being one. I still don't think as well. For me, there's question marks whether, I know Thomas Tuchel may dress this up as a little bit of rotation and keeping these players fresh and managing player load. Yes, there may be a touch of, but I also think there's an element of the fact that, does he really know who his 3 best defenders are in that back 3? Antonio Rudiger, yeah, he looks to be the one that's really nailed down. Thiago Silva, look, brilliant player, but what is he now, 37 years of age? Is he really a defender that you want to be relying upon 2, possibly 3 starts every week? No, because physically, he just isn't able to cope with the demands of playing at that level with such a tight turnaround. So we've seen Azpilicueta, who seems to have dropped off the face of the earth. until he came back in the other week. He was a strong candidate week in, week out, but then we've seen the emergence of Chavaloa. Great. He's eulogised about Christensen in the past. Players, and there seems to be a little bit, just maybe a little bit too much rotation in there, a little bit too much chopping and the changing. If you've got a solid, a settled and a solid back three that performed so well, was it 4 goals in the opening 12 game weeks of the Premier League season? With Mendy in behind that, for me, that's your solid foundation. That's what wins you championships, that type of defensive form and fortitude. And that seems to have went by the by in recent games. And like I say, the injuries without doubt have impacted. And that not only sort of affects the players who are out of the squad and injured, but it also impacts those players who are involved in the games. Look at Jorginho, and great another example. Thomas Tuchel said he's spending more time in the treatment room than he is on the training pitches these days to try and get him ready for each and every game. Ordinarily, he wouldn't be anywhere near that starting 11. So we're not having players performing at optimum level. And when you're talking about the Premier League and you're pushing for the title, it's all about those small percentages, those marginal games. And you're not going to get that if your players aren't at optimum level.
I know you love a cheeky little quiz question, Lynn. What do you think the average XG conceded per game of Chelsea was in that fantastic game week 1 to 12 run was?
Oh, I have absolutely no idea.
Hazard a guess.
I'm going to say
Minus what?
I'm going to say that overperformed by 9 goals.
So in terms of it, they averaged XG conceded about 1 per game. So Ben, you're almost there. It's actually 8 goals that they overperformed by. So they conceded 4. They should have conceded 12. And this is the point. I think a lot of people are kind of shocked. Oh my God, that they were such an amazing defense. There is the personnel issue. There's no disregarding that. They have had a slight kind of regression in terms of a 0.3 on top of that per 90. So now they've got a 1.3 XG conceded per 90. But I agree with the person that you kind of mentioned there with the Chelsea. They're a good team. They're top 3. They're Champions League. They're good, but they're not mega brilliant. And I think that was the thing at the start of the season was they were performing like they're a Man City or a Liverpool when they weren't really close to that.
Champions of Europe. Who are performing like our champions of Europe.
Which they are, weirdly enough. But yeah, I think this is the situation is Chelsea going forward. I think they're going to still be a good own apart from, as we've discussed there, game week 26 is when you can probably consider them again. But for the rest of the season, I think people need to switch their mind frames that this is a good team. They'll get fairly often clean sheets, but we can't be expecting them to get 4 goals conceded in 12 games. That's just not sustainable. If they were having the same sort of data as maybe Manchester City, then you'd say, yeah, fair enough. That could be sustained because the team are doing that good, but they were just letting too many high quality opportunities and Mendy was quite often saving the day. But in terms of maybe saving your Christmas, saving your mindset during this festive period, I hope this gives you a bit of answers to an interesting conundrum that has happened at Stamford Bridge. But we're going to wish you the best of festivities during Christmas. We hope you have a fantastic time of the year and we will see you again very, very soon. But for now, stay healthy, stay happy, and we will see you soon.